Hi, my friends. How are you? Rachel LaForce reporting live. New year, new me, new energy. You know what I mean? Uh, it's not. I have a bone to pick with that because starting a new year in the dead of winter drives me absolutely bonkers. Also, coming off of the holidays are chaotic for everyone. Even when you're like, not me, Rachel. I set boundaries this year and I only took care of me. Have a seat. It's still challenging to even be able to make those choices. Even when we make the choices that are in best service of ourselves, that takes energy. It takes energy to disattach. It takes energy to do and move through those things. So regardless, the end of the year is always so much. So I always find it hilarious that by, you know, the 31st, everyone's like, recap. This was January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I love it. I'm here for it. You know what I mean? I watched every single one of your recaps. But I think it's also important for us to be mindful of the race to recap something without processing it. And how quickly, my joke is where I'm like, you know, for a lot of you who spent all year long just bitching and moaning about things that weren't going on, weren't going right in your life or how you were struggling. I'm like, that recap looked real clean and pretty, where I'm like, you're just going to put that recap up and then just go back to that same pile of shit all over again? So I do think that that's my bone to pick with New Year, New Me, where I actually think it's a great reflection point for going, okay, here's what we did, here's what we learned, and then using the winter as a sense of reflection. So this isn't for me. This is just me, okay? Um how can we use the momentum of the new year? How can we use the tabula rasa? How can we use this energy as a clean slate, as something new, to use it as this almost like a reflection pond, right? How can we just kind of think about what's working, what we've learned, all of that, so that we can take it and elevate it and be ready to go come spring, rather than starting all these new things, trying all these new things. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Um Even if they're not actual physical things that you're doing, but energetically that you're like, oh, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to manifest this thing. The nature's hibernating, at least in our hemisphere. Okay. Because I know some of you are like, that's not where I am. Totally fair. Okay. So just talking to my little, northern hemisphere, babies. Um, yeah. So with with that energy in mind, I wanted just to pull a card and kind of see what comes up for this space for those of us that are on this awakening, and whatever that means for you, uh and just kind of how can we harness this energy and also be reflective in this way. I pulled the card from the bottom because I'm a little attracted to that. So, as always, if you're new to this, my name is Rachel LaForce. I am a comedian and spiritual speaker. All of my work is about harmonizing the chaos and comedy that is life to the things that we cannot see and the things that are the most magical and the most spiritual. Because healing is hilarious, baby. So, in the event you're like, who is this woman? That's who I am. So, if this is your first time watching a card pull, I'm just going to go ahead and close my eyes. I say a little bit of a prayer of protection for me and for you, and that what we need to hear and feel acknowledged by, and what we need to be pointed towards will reveal itself. All right, here we go. Um, Okay. I'm doing two things. This was interesting, and we'll see. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So interesting. I the first card that I just pulled from the bottom, when instinctively I pulled the deck out and I was like, "Ooh, keep it." And that is the animal card. Which I know you can't very clearly see that, but it's this very beautiful I'm going to identify it as like a wolf eye, but there's like a lot of kind of flora around it, but it's just kind of there's a lot of shadow to it as well. The second card I pulled, so as when I took this deck and I split it in half, I really felt this calling of like, ooh, first half of the year, second half of the year, or basically as we're looking at what is winter and then going into spring. So kind of like, where are we now? How can we harness this energy so that it can go into the second part of the year? Like, what is that energy that we need, which is the spark, which most of us are always looking for the spark, for the action, for the fruit. It's very hard for most of us to like get like as I define it, spiritually high from the idea of hibernating, right? The idea of like not creating, but kind of like sitting with what is. Most of us aren't like, oh, rad, right? That's not really the part that makes most of us excited. So, which fair. But I really felt like there's this time is about using what was so we can sit with it, kind of this reflection pond, and then going into what is. So I just instinctively split the deck. So the card that I got for right now is the bridge card, and it's this really beautiful it's two hands outstretched exchanging kind of this bridge of light, and then all of that light is reflecting on the water. So again, I kind of like that because I was using right now as kind of this idea of the reflection pond and looking at it for ourselves. And even for me is like that bridge of like, where are you now? And like, what do you want to give to your future self? What do you want to pass along? And how can we use this time as the bridge between what we've been doing and where we want to be? Right. It doesn't mean that we're not building the bridge. We're not investigating the bridge. Like, how can you just enjoy walking over the bridge? What can you give to yourself? What can you be working on to extend to that next part of yourself? And then the card going into the springtime, which I really like, is the flame card, which is fun because April is Aries season. It's a fire sign. It's the flame. I also love that this flame is nice and small. It's not like, this card wasn't like forest fire, right? That it's nice. It's small. It's just kind of feeling like it's also up in this diamond. So all of that heat is rising to the top. So it almost feels like there's this sense of contained and condensed energy that we don't need you to be doing everything, that even what we're taking this bridge, that what we're sending from ourselves now to what will be, right? That it's kind of sitting first with this like dark animal energy where we've been kind of letting that stuff burn off, becoming aware of what is this sense of on the bridge. What do we want to illuminate? What do we want to give color to? What do we want to actually pass on? Right? Oh, this year was hard. Oh, all this bullshit, this and that. Okay, then let's not do that again. But if you don't get mindful, if you don't get clear, seeing yourself again in this pond, the idea of like, what can you actually see? What is real to you? What are the things that you keep doing over and over again and going, I can't understand why it's possibly happening? The reason that you can't understand it is because you are rushing to the next thing. Okay, guilty. So again, and then going into what you're passing over is just this small flame. That one candle can illuminate an entire room. We don't need you to, light up the whole world. But when you allow that one place of that one flame to be a place of concentration, that it can build and that heat can build and it can really create something. Those are just my intuitive reads from both what was I was kind of feeling and then from looking at these cards. So it'll be interesting to see what is actually in here. So this is a deck from Kim Kranz. This is the Wild Unknown, and this is all about archetypes and different things. So she's a really cool kind of look at um, this work. So let's see what these have to say. So we've got, whoa, another card fell out. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Well, what is the... There we go. Okay. So this is the animals. This was kind of for right now in this energy, and it says the beast, the wild one, the she-wolf. We are mammals. The hair on our chest and between our legs reminds us so. We try hard to define our unrefined animalistic nature. Yet through this archetype, we tap into power and direction. So again, I like that of like sitting with this thing, sitting with the parts of ourselves that feel unrefined, the things that we didn't like from this last year, right? That actually taps us into our power and our direction of what we're moving forward with. Activating the animal within means reawakening our relationship to nature in the most broad and embodied sense. Drinking from waterfalls, roaring at the moon, opening eyes underwater, eating berries from the vine. The life force of our planet begs us to set down the devices, the constraints, and the social constructs, and remember the warm blood that pulses through our veins. The animal longs for breath, food, procreation, and physicality. It wants soil under our nails and starlight on our skin. If this all sounds terribly unsophisticated to you, take note that it is said that when Buddha became enlightened, he roared like a great lion. Notice your resistance to the animal within. Where does it come from? What has it kept you from doing? The animal demands that we get comfortable in our own skin. The minute you accept, express, and celebrate the physical body, you are tapped into your animal energy. It's vital, elemental, alive, and dances. Yeah, so I really like that idea of it feels very raw. There's so many things we can take away from that, right? But like for me, it's just this really raw, energetic life force. And again, I think going through, if anything will make you in touch with your animal instincts, it's getting through the holidays. And, so having that sense of what came up and what needs to be released from me so that I can look at what's here now. And I've talked about this before, both joking and also because like it's wildly profound and potent, which is like screaming in the car, screaming in a closet, screaming into a pillow, screaming outside, like the rage that sits in our body over time. And I know some of that may sound a little far out for you, but I guarantee you, if you sit long enough and think about it, it's going to rise to the top really quickly. And some of that is even just pent up, unused energy that sits in our body over time, over time, over time. And it's that heaviness. It's that emptiness. It's that, so close. It's that itch you can't scratch. And just being able to, it's also very sexy. But just being able to get that low hum, that scream, getting all of that out of you on a cellular level, just like freeze you up. Just saying, try it. You're welcome. Okay. And then the card that I picked for kind of this bridge energy is literally the bridge. Let's see if we can. It's all Roman numerals, so takes an extra minute to find it. You can't really flip to just page 16. Okay, here we go. The bridge, the connection, the link, the gate. Bridges are built to connect two worlds. They create flow, allowing us to travel between realms, ideologies, and personalities. This archetype is the gesture of acceptance. Ooh, I love that. This archetype is the gesture of acceptance, of saying yes rather than withdrawing, separating, and saying no. When we cross a bridge to an unknown land, we are led magically into a new reality. We open up to otherness. Healing and communication are made possible. We enter a state of curiosity, wonder, and learning. The shaman, for example, creates the bridge between us every day, between the everyday and the sacred. This card asks us to study the connections between the seemingly disconnected parts of our life, relationships, ideologies, histories. Remember that a bridge can't be forced. It must be made with love, or its structure will not withstand the inevitable weather of life. So, when light, this is acceptance, magic, and communication. Imagine building a bridge, then imagine building a wall. Which energy is needed for the situation at hand? Which image softens and heals the heart? Lie on the floor and listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water. Notice the ease and acceptance within the melody, the feeling of rising above the muck. For a bridge over troubled water, I lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. It actually is a really beautiful song. But I think that it's really, for me, is the bridge of like, what do you want to leave behind and where do you want to go? And I think that animal card comes in again of like, and sometimes deciding where you want to go also means bringing a lot of the parts of you that are unfinished, a lot of the parts of you that you struggle with, a lot of the parts of you that don't feel perfect. And that the only way to get to where it is that you want to go is to accept that sometimes all of you is coming with you. And then what are the parts that you can let go of? And I think really taking that sense of assessment, because that's so much of, right, of like fake it till you make it, or, all of those mantras that we love of like, when people are like, which I do not subscribe to this, but it's like, you can't love another person until you love yourself. And like, just all of these things that we love to say, when it's like, in reality, most everything is more than one thing. But we get to choose what we lead with. We get to choose what we want to showcase. And so it's not about hiding all the other parts, but it is that sense of acceptance. And even being like, okay, these are the parts that I want to come with me. And I love that idea that the bridge is magic. And when you allow it to be what it needs to be, it can bring you to the other side of something. So I really love that. And then lastly, on kind of our 3-card journey here, is we have the flame. And here we go. The flame, the fire, the spark, or the glimmer. In Sanskrit, is it san? I just paused. I'm like, is it san? Yeah. The word for fire is Agni. Agni. The ancient yogis saw this flame at the center of the abdomen and believed it was to be responsible for our vitality. The ancient yogis saw this flame as the center of our abdomen and believed that it was responsible for our vitality. When it is lit, we are connected with our purpose and sense that life is a sacred gift. It is said that those who cannot see the sacred around them have their inner flame go out. Think of this card as a call to reignite that fire, to cup your hands gently around those things that you've forgotten and protect that flame, no matter how harshly the winds around you blow. It could be an inner archetype that begs you to light its wick. It is likely that the poet, the mystic, or the shaman would call to you with the language of the flame. So when lit, this is health, mental clarity, and good digestion. The archetypal fire is at the beginning of all transformation, purification, and manifestation. Nearly every spiritual lineage honors the flame. Yeah, so I think the part of this that I was the most attracted to is the idea of protecting your flame. And so I think really it's the ownership and allowing it just to be yours. I think sometimes, I know I'm guilty of it, of like, but everybody has to see it and everybody has to acknowledge it and it's like, no. Accepting and knowing that it's there and that it's your vitality. It is there to support you. period. End of sentence. It is there to support you and your vitality. We're also going, this is now an 8-year, 2024. 2 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. 8 is all about life force and vitality. And this is really a good year for that momentum and moving forward. So really all of the ways of how can you tap into that inner flame? How can you protect it? How can you allow it to guide you as your vitality? One of the negative sides of the 8 is burnout. So how can you, again, sink into what is, accept the parts of yourself that are unfinished, that are imperfect? How can you fully accept them, integrate them, allow us to let go, scream out what are the things that we don't need, and really reaching out, what are the beautiful colors, what is the reflection that you want to create in this bridge of moving forward? And knowing that where you're going is protected by your own vitality, it's there by that flame. And I don't know what that answer is for you because all I know is me. But I am so grateful. I know this card reading was a little bit longer than some of them, but I really trust that this offering is something that really makes sense to you, that you needed to hear, is something that you can implement. All of these symbols are so visceral and so beautiful. So maybe there's trinkets or maybe you doodle, even just the word, maybe it's images that you can have around your space and kind of carry with you as we bridge the gap from now until springtime. As always, I'm so grateful to share space with you. Tune out, tune in. Love you, mean it.